The situation at heavyweight just does not make any sense. It's difficult to understand the behavior of all the interested parties. Some of it is baffling if taken at face value, so you'd have to wonder if there's more going on here. With respect to Tom Aspinall, certainly not. His plans are so straightforward, you could fit him on a post-it note.
Best heavyweight ever.
Tom has always and remains nothing if not respectful of the status of Jones and Stipe. Jones once joked about Aspinall being a fan of his, but Tom totally agrees with that characterization.
John Jones is obviously one of the best to ever do it. I would love to share the octagon with him one day. Got a lot of respect for him. Absolutely love his game. Massive fan of his.
Before his interim title fight, Tom had a relaxed attitude with respect to all the moving parts now in play in the heavyweight division.
I'm just fine with the interim. I'm not too bothered. It'll all work itself out, I'm sure. As far as if it's for the interim title or the vacant title, doesn't really bother me too much.
But he has for a long time been clear that he hoped to impress Jones, enough to entice him into a future fight.
I hope so. Like, that's my dream fight. My goal in the future moving forward is not only to win, but like, I want to excite John Jones. Like, I want him to look at me and think, I keep saying it in interviews and stuff, but at this point he probably doesn't know who I am. He probably doesn't, and that's fine. But I want him to watch me fight in the next few fights and think, I need to test myself against this guy, and be excited about guys like me coming through and want to take that challenge.
The guy's got his black belt and good manners. But his goal was to impress Jones, and having knocked out Pavlovich in a minute flat with the odds very much stacked against him, he felt he had likely done enough to impress everyone.
How could it not? I don't think I did much wrong for him to be like, that's an easy fight.
He probably thought Dana was in the back drafting up the contract for his fight with Jones. He's ready to start promoting the thing.
If we do the greatest fighter of all time versus the UK heavyweight champion of the UFC, the UK heavyweight, you know what I mean, you know what I mean, the UK guy who's the world champion, that would, in the UK, that would be absolutely insane. Like, let's do it, absolutely.
But he adds the following line, which now represents the central mystery of the whole thing.
That is something special, and I'm sure the UFC are going to be on board with that.
I'm sure the UFC are going to be on board with that. Yeah, you'd certainly think so. Let's think about the upside of Tom Aspinall. He's a killer on a deadly streak. He hasn't beaten everyone, but with the Pavlovich win and Gane already losing to Francis and Jones, he's kind of separated himself from the pack. He's a big, young, hungry British heavyweight with grand designs for his future.
I don't do much, mate, to be honest. I'm focused on the goal, and the goal for me is to be the best heavyweight that has ever walked the face of the earth. And that's what I'm working on. That's what I've been working on since I was 7 years old, since me and my dad decided this thing.
Just turned 31, which at heavyweight might as well be 21, might as well be 16. And as a bonus, he wants to engage fans and take them with him on the journey of his UFC career. Put simply, he's a perfect, willing, fresh face for the heavyweight division moving forward. But you want to get him in there with Jones for multiple reasons. Obviously, Jones has one foot out the door. He's ready to retire, and he's retiring with the aura of arguably the greatest of all time. A man who, outside his disqualification, only ever lost to his own personal demons and USADA. Amazing career, and that's great, but the UFC won't be able to monetize that greatness for much longer. It'd be great for them if Tom could take some of that shine just as Jones is sliding out the door. Tom could have the belt or be one fight from a title shot for the next 5 or 6 years, maybe longer. Of all the active heavyweights, if I had to bet on one to break Stipe's record, it'd be Tom Aspinall. He has the skills, he has big goals, he's dialed in mentally, and time is absolutely on his side. So just massive upside to him being a man to defeat Jones.
Now I've got the belt. The next goal is best heavyweight ever, and I honestly, like, hand on heart, seriously, truly feel like I'm going to do that.
He's got as good a chance as anyone, but it's not just the upside Tom represents. Realistically, you're trying to avoid the heavyweight division sliding into the state that the light heavyweight division has been in since Jones left that. That was the division. That belt seemed like the most prestige for various reasons. It hasn't managed to regain that prestige in the wake of Jones. Now, there was some bad luck involved, judging mistakes, injuries, but one of the reasons is that it's very hard to get excited about a belt when you don't feel it really represents the best fighter in the world. While they've been passing the strap around like it's a football, it has all taken place in Jones' shadow. I mean, he beat Glover in his prime, who then became champion at 65 years old, because John was out of the picture. Not to diminish Glover, that's an amazing achievement in its own right, but it just highlights the extent to which Jones loomed over that division. Alex right now is a godsend for light heavyweight. My God. Well, the heavyweight division could be in an even more precarious spot than that. It's always had more problems with depth. And the UFC just lost Ngannou. Now, he might not be the greatest in terms of accomplishments, but he was the most intimidating, the most devastating puncher in the history of the sport. Thunder and lightning in both fists. The title baddest man alive fit him like a fucking glove. He was the perfect archetype of what a heavyweight champion should be. Well, the UFC lose him. But incredibly, they actually have someone who can fill his shoes. Arguably the greatest fighter in the history of the sport is ready to step up and demolishes Gane in a manner that credibly supports the idea that he might be the best heavyweight in the planet. It's at least a debate.
And everyone who knows me knows I certainly am not a fan of Jon Jones as a person, and he and I probably will never ever see eye to eye. Not relevant. Doesn't matter. Who cares? Here is the reality. Jon Jones is the best mixed martial artist ever.
Anybody deny this guy is the GOAT anymore? I don't think anybody would deny it. Not only is he the greatest light heavyweight ever, he looks like the greatest heavyweight ever too. But dealing with him is like dealing with an artist, is the best way to explain it.
He's got an after party here in Vegas. Does that at all worry you slightly?
Bonjour, comment ça va?
It does a little bit, yeah. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie.
We took 0 damage tonight. I believe in my next fight, I'll go into it with a different level of confidence, an even higher level of confidence. I believe that I'm going to look really great.
Big win for the UFC. Jon Jones reasonably filled Ngannou's shoes, but nobody's coming to fill Jones' shoes. So if he tears Stipe in two like a wet newspaper and then retires, what does that do to the heavyweight belt? Not only would it be laboring in Jones' shadow, who's still a young heavyweight in his prime, but it's double fucked, because you have Ngannou out there who might start a brand new highlight reel in the PFL, start racking up bodies over there. So the UFC's heavyweight belt might not feel like it represents the best or even the second best fighter on the planet. And that's a problem, the bronze medal belt. So you've got it from both angles. The upside of Aspinall winning is potentially huge, but that upside is exaggerated by the fact that the division is in a state of transition between generations, and you're trying to avoid a situation like light heavyweight emerging in that transition. Now, that's not easy to do, but the best card the UFC has, the only card they have, is Tom Aspinall.
Do a quick picture. Sure. Yeah, let's do it. A face off.
All in. I'll fight anybody.
Somebody's got to be a world champion at doing it. Why not? Why not, Tom?
Yeah, I'm the guy.
Obviously, there's a risk. What if Jones completely embarrasses Tom like he did with Gane, and then retires having just demolished two of the best fighters the UFC has? Yeah, that's the risk with Jones. Let's not pretend that's not possible. But Aspinall is not Gane. He doesn't have one massive glaring weakness for Jon to exploit. In terms of some of the challenges he presents for Jones, I'll let Aspinall sell himself.
In your mind, what's the prediction?
Well, he's fought a lot of quicker guys before. I don't mean quicker than me, I mean quicker than most heavyweights, being a light heavyweight, obviously. But he's never fought someone quicker than a light heavyweight who's bigger than him, who is super confident, with big fight IQ, who's not intimidated, who's young and fresh, not loads of miles on the clock, and brings something different. And that's what I think I bring to the table against Jon. I have to hit him one time at speed that he doesn't see, and I'm really capable of doing that. So to answer your question, I think I can knock him out.
I want to fight him, and I think I can win. I can do things that other heavyweights can't. My mind is so different, and I see shots that other people don't see. I make decisions that other people can't make, and you might look on the outside and think, this guy's got holes in his game, but you jump in and let's have a go and see how you get on.
Beyond the technicals, though, Gane really seemed to buckle under the pressure of facing Jones.
What John found that he would have had no way to know until he got in there is that the real Gane was scared to death.
But he just looked like he was a little bit lost and kind of overwhelmed.
You can't be scared. You just can't.
John locks up the guillotine choke and he taps. That's one of John Jones's easiest fights in UFC history.
And Aspinall has also admitted he's afraid of John.
Do I fear him? Absolutely. I fear all of my opponents. Like, these guys are the best in the world. Absolute best in the world. Yeah, absolutely. I fear him.
The difference is, Tom's spoken a lot about fear. He's admitted to being afraid in the past, against Pavlovich. He said he was scared, but that he shines brightest when he's afraid.
I'm fighting the scariest guy in MMA, in my opinion, in the worst circumstances possible, without a training camp.
Yesterday, you said that Sergey was probably the scariest man in MMA, so I'm just wondering, first impression seeing him on stage here.
Pretty scared. Scary guy, mate. Yeah, definitely an intimidating guy, but do my best work when I'm scared. Fear is something that I have a really good relationship with. It gives me a superpower, so generally speaking, the more scared I am, the better I do in the fight, so.
Now, anyone can say they do their best work when they're afraid, and they're certainly not going to say, hey, I tend to shit the bed when I'm nervous, so expect me to get knocked out. But Tom then seemed to validate that he does do his best work when he's afraid by smoking Pavlovich in a minute. In the post-fight, Aspinall again confirmed he was terrified, but elaborated on his relationship with fear.
Too many people in this game, I think, and in life in general, I'm not trying to be like a philosopher, but hide away from fear. Like, they try and be like, oh, I'm not scared. I openly admit that I'm scared and I'm going to do it anyway. Like, that's when I do my best. Look, when Sergey whacked me with the overhand right, my mouthpiece started to come out. Like, that's when I do my best work. When a big scary guy's coming at me like that, like, that's when I'm at my absolute best, and I embrace fear, like, with open arms, and I'm happy to be scared and perform like that.
So he's afraid, but he's not afraid to be afraid. He embraces it, and it elevates his game. Now, Pavlovich isn't Jones, but think about this. You'd have to assume that taking a short-notice fight, having less time to prepare, is going to increase the odds of losing. Well, couple that with the fact that if you lose to Pavlovich, the odds are it'll be a crushing knockout that relegates you to the wrong side of a highlight reel. He's not John Jones, but he is deadly. So Tom was staring down the barrel of a gun on very short notice, with an injury. He admitted he was terrified. He had good reason to be terrified. And yet, he rose to the challenge in spectacular fucking fashion. So Tom Aspinall might be the only card the UFC have, but he's a pretty good card to fucking have. But yeah, there's risk. If Tom got absolutely squelched like Gane, it would be deflating for the division, disaster for the UFC. But I just don't see Tom getting demolished like that. And he really doesn't have to win. You know, anything outside embarrassment is probably a win for the UFC. They get this huge title unification. Could easily fill a stadium in the UK. They introduce Tom to a massive audience, and as long as he acquits himself well, which I think he likely will, he's young enough to rebuild from a competitive loss to arguably the greatest of all time. So, taken at face value, and in combination with the Francis scenario, it looks like Dana is trying to turn the heavyweight division into the ultimate bag-fumbling championship, where he is both president and champion, the ultimate bag-fumbler.
He wants to fight Stipe. He's interested in that fight.
I say it respectfully to Stipe. I would take time off from being a firefighter right now, and I mean that with all due respect.
Maybe setting up a title fight with Aspinall.
The Stipe fight has to happen, yeah.
But is there more to it than that? I think there is. I think there is more to it. And I'll discuss that hopefully very soon, because I want to move on to Maximus Testiculi, otherwise known as Max Holloway. Featherweight, now a lightweight, but he's always had a pair of heavyweights swinging between his legs. But first, I want to discuss what the fuck is really going on here.